actually, I had been reading, just in my own time, I had been reading the book of Joshua. Well, actually I was reading something else, and so the Lord kept taking me back to Joshua. And I said, Lord, I don't want to read that. I want to read something else. I can't even remember what it was I was reading. But He kept taking me back to the book of Joshua. And so then she talked a couple of weeks ago about the promises of God. Y'all remember that? And so then is when she told me that she wanted me to teach. And so that evening I went back to Joshua, and then the Lord showed me, this is why I had you read Joshua. So He gave me a word, and even though Pastor is starting a series on the bait of Satan, or the debate of Satan, that was a wonderful word, wonderful. That word was awesome. It hit me. I tell you what, the word says that the word is sharper than any two-edged sword. It'll cut you going in and coming out. Right? So anytime you think you got it going on, yeah, not so much. Right? So this word is actually, this teaching is actually in line with the sermon that Pastor gave a couple of weeks back on the promises of God. And so, just to do a very short recap on what Pastor said, she gave us the 3 P's, if you remember, while we're waiting on God: to proclaim, right, to praise, and then to practice. All right, so I want you to remember that. Because this message here is in line with God's promises. All right, so we're going to be coming out of the book of Joshua, and the Lord gave me the title for this teaching tonight. It's called "As for Me and My House." All right, so I'm going to first start. I'm going to first read Joshua 1:3 through 5. Okay, and we're going to kind of go through this. Should have us out here by 8:30, or maybe even before. But I think this is this message, I think, is pretty powerful. When God gives a message, most oftentimes He makes you walk it out yourself, right? And so, of course, like clockwork, I had to walk this out myself. And it's a continual thing. It's not just a one-time deal. Understand that. But as you are preparing, even in the midst of you preparing, God will challenge you right in the midst of your preparation for the message that you're supposed to give to people. And oftentimes He'll bring out stuff in you, and it's like, okay, well, Lord, how am I supposed to give this word? That ain't for you to worry about. You be obedient. And so that's actually what this message is about. So I'll start reading Joshua 1:3 through 5. It says, I will give you, this is the Lord speaking to Joshua. After the passing of Moses, Joshua took over as leader. I don't think they crowned him as king, but he took over as leader of the children of Israel. Okay? So this is the Lord speaking to Joshua. All right? He says, I will give you every place. I want y'all to pay attention to this. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert of Lebanon and from the great river Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you in all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. All right? So here's what's interesting about that. God speaks to Joshua and gives Joshua 3 promises in that text. He promised him more territory. Did you catch that? God promised Joshua that he will be victorious. He said, everywhere your footsteps, you're going to win. Everywhere your footsteps, you will be victorious. That was a promise. And then the third promise God gave Joshua, He tells Joshua that what? I will be with you always. I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. I thought, man, what an awesome promise to get from God. Remember, Pastor taught us when we were talking about promises that there's two different types of promises. Can anybody tell us what she taught about? Conditional and unconditional. All right. So then let's move forward a little bit. Joshua, and this is all I'm traversing through most of the book of Joshua. Okay. So then in Joshua, same chapter, first chapter, 6 through 9. This is what he tells Joshua. He says, "Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law. Be careful to obey all the law of my servant Moses that my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from the right nor to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then, there's the condition, then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you to be strong and be courageous? Do not be afraid. Don't be discouraged. For the Lord your God, I am with you." So what did God do? He gave Joshua he encouraged Joshua, and then he gave him those set of promises again. So it says God encourages and admonishes Joshua to be strong and courageous. He told Joshua 3 different times, be strong and courageous. God was preparing Joshua as a man of God, a leader over God's people, for a huge undertaking. Isn't that just like God? I'm going to give you, he gives us these promises, and then he encourages us. He says, you can do this, son. You can do this, daughter. Right? That's just like God. God has placed these huge promises, these big dreams in our hearts, and we all have them. Or if you don't, we've had them at one time or another. He said, hey, I got a business set up for you. Hey, I got this house ready for you. But I need you to be strong. I need you to be courageous. Don't be scared, because I am what? With you. Amen? So he's promised us all different types of things. God is the God of bigger things to come. Notice though, here's the catch. Notice though, God never told Joshua the how, when, where's, or why. Huh? Ain't that just like God? But he did. So this is what God did. He said, everywhere your foot is going to go, you're going to be successful. He gave him all these promises. However, they all came with condition. What was the condition that they came with? Don't turn to the right. Don't turn to the left. What is he saying? Stay focused. Isn't that what that means? Yeah. Stay focused. That was the condition. If you stay focused, I got you. If you stay focused. Okay? He told Joshua to obey the laws of Moses. He told Joshua to obey the laws that Moses gave them, not to turn to the right or to the left. In other words, stay focused. Don't get distracted. God admonished Joshua to keep the law so that he could be successful of the promises of God. God's love for us is unconditional, but most of his promises ain't. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times, I talk about myself. I know God has promised me different things throughout my life, and then something happens. Oh God, you must not love me. Anybody ever felt that? Yeah. Okay, so it ain't just me. Right. Me tripping, because I was tripping. Trust me, I was tripping. Oh, you must not love me because it didn't go the way I thought it should go. Well, hold up, swole up. Right. What about the condition that I gave you? What about the conditions? See, we forget about that part. Yeah. All right? So there's always a stipulation to God's promises. Now we're getting ready to get into the meat of it. So here's the stipulations. The first thing God wants us to do is obey him. I need y'all to write this down. All right? And in this order. This is how it goes. The first stipulation for God's promises is obedience. The second stipulation is trust. The third stipulation is patience. And then comes the provision. or the promise. So I'll say it again. You got obedience, trust, patience, and then comes the provision. Right? Let's talk about what obedience looks like. So, remember when I said to you just a little bit ago, okay, well, before I do that, let's go. Joshua gave the children of Israel specific instructions. So watch this, in verse 10 through 11. Joshua ordered the officers of the people. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. 3 days from now, you'll cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord God is giving you for your own. Right? Those were the instructions that Joshua gave to the children of Israel. Excuse me. I'm trying to find. I lost my place on the notes, y'all. I'm so sorry. So give me 1 second here. I apologize. I lost my place. I'm so sorry. Give me a second here. So my son got in trouble. I'm tell you why I lost my notes. My son got in trouble and he got sentences. He had to write sentences in this book. And so this boy wrote 500 sentences in this book. And I think this joker tore out a page of my... I'm going to make him write more sentences just for that. Okay, so he first gave his officers the orders. The first order that he gave them was to what? Go through the camp. The second, he first gave the orders. The second thing he did was told them to go through the camp. The third thing he did was told them, tell the people to get your stuff together. Those were the instructions. All right? So, and then the fourth thing he told them was, because we're crossing the Jordan right here. Not over there, right here. Follow me. Okay? Suppose the officers decided that they didn't feel like telling the people anything because they don't like Brother Boobs or Brother Tony. He told them to go through the camp. Well, suppose instead of going through the camp, they only went to the places that were easy to reach or comfortable. You see what I'm saying? And so then instead of going through the camp, what if the people decided not to take heed? I'm sure the children of Israel needed their belongings, right? He told, gather all of your provisions, all right? So when we obey God, His grace is giving us time to get our stuff together. That's what that's about. See, He said, in 3 days we leaving. That was their grace period. And they needed to be obedient. When we walk in obedience to God, we're walking in His grace. You see what I'm getting at? Walking inside of God's grace is pretty daggone important. Trust me. All right? The instructions were for a common purpose. Joshua didn't pick his favorite families or his best officers. No, his plan was for all sons and daughters to cross the river. You see what I'm saying? Pastor doesn't just stand up here and preach to Minister Lazona because she's so pretty and I just love her so much. No, she loves us. She loves you and she thinks you're pretty. I know that. But she thinks that about all of us. You see what I'm saying? Her vision is for all of us to cross the Jordan. Would you agree? Okay. So, but here's the thing, and the sister touched on it earlier. It was for everybody to cross the Jordan at a determined spot, at a determined time. Habakkuk 2:3. The provisions are waiting at a determined time. You understand? But he said, we're going to cross the Jordan here, not there. Obedience, grace, following. All right? So, he didn't say to cross anywhere you feel like it. Being obedient means doing the things in His timing. He's already appointed a spot for us to cross over the Jordan River. Amen? And so again, Habakkuk 2:3 says that the vision awaits an appointed time. We must be obedient to follow His instructions and not go before the appointed time. See, I'm guilty of that because God takes too long sometimes for my liking. You understand? Sometimes He's too slow. You see what I'm saying? But in Habakkuk it says, though it tarry. You see what I'm getting at? But see, sometimes, well, you tarry too long for me. You see what I'm saying? But here's the thing though. When you step outside of his grace, well then, see, David said, and I laugh about this all the time, in Psalms 119 said, David said, listen, before I was afflicted, I went astray. Then he said, but now I'll obey your word. But now that I was afflicted, yes, I learned my lesson to walk in obedience and grace. And then he said, so it was really good that I was afflicted. Do you understand what I'm getting at? That's what David said. Before I went astray, before I crossed the Jordan too early, you see what I'm saying? I got afflicted. But now I hear you. That's just like us. We got to bump our heads, and now we finally listen to the voice of the Lord, right? I'm telling you. So we must be obedient to follow his instructions and not go before him. Don't cross the river wherever we want to, okay? So that's obedience. That's the importance of walking in obedience. Let's talk about walking in. So now you might ask me, okay, so what was the next thing after obedience? Trust, okay? So then you might say, well, how can I trust the Lord? How can I be obedient to the Lord if I don't even trust him? Has anybody ever been in a position where they didn't really feel like they trusted the Lord? Amen. Let me see a show of hands, because y'all just talk. Let me see something here. I want to see who's with me. I want to make sure I ain't the only one. Okay, cool. So that's everybody. So, but here's the thing though. God didn't ask you. He already knows it. You don't trust him. He already knows that. He created us. So we ain't fooling him by trying to act like we trust the Lord in certain areas when we really don't. But the key to it is, here's the part. God said, I ain't worried about you trusting me, sister. What I need you to do is be obedient, because in your obedience you will learn to trust me. So that's why there's, in the streets we would say, there's levels to this. You understand what I'm saying? So the levels is, it don't matter whether or not I trust God in every area. That's irrelevant right now. What's relevant is that I obey his word. And in that, I will learn to trust him. Watch this. I'll teach you how. I'm glad y'all asked me how's that work. Thank you. I'll just get ready to tell you. So now, we jump up to Joshua in the 2nd chapter. The spies, so Joshua sent these spies out, okay, to survey the land. Alright? So, let me read Joshua 2, 4, and 6. But the woman, Rahab, the prostitute, but the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. She said, yes, because the officers of the city that they were getting ready to invade had heard about these 2 spies coming. So they went to Rahab's house, knocking on the door. Hey, where they at? Where they at? She said, well, the men came to me, but I don't know where they came from, and I don't know where they went. All right, she's lying, okay? But then down in verse 6, this is the tight part. But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under stalks of flax she had laid out on the roof. So check this out. So the spies had to trust Rahab. Now, understand this. Rahab was a woman of the night. She was a streetwalker. Right? Reputation probably wasn't all that great. Would you agree? Right. But because they were walking in obedience to what Joshua said, go spy the land out. They didn't, the scriptures don't tell us that they said, well, man, where are we going to go? Whose house are we supposed to? No. They went. They were obedient. Okay? Remember I said it's out of our obedience that we learn to trust. Watch this. The 2 men had gone there at sunset for the purpose of spying. They ended up at a prostitute's house. I'm sure her reputation wasn't all that. However, their lives were on the line. And they really had no choice but to trust her. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes we get in a situation that God says, this is what I want you to do. And guess what? Your life could literally be on the line. You see what I'm saying? But let me show you how important it is to walk in obedience so that we can trust. Many times God sends us into situations blindly, and it's not the person we place our trust in, but rather the Holy Spirit to guide and protect us, right? So they were led into a foreign place. They were led into a foreign place they had never seen before and had to place their trust in a woman of the night. But mostly, they placed the trust in the leadership of Joshua. You see where I'm going with that? Okay. So I'm going to put a pin in that. So now, here they are at this woman's house. Because remember, it said she had taken them up to the roof and hid them. So now, they got to be patient. This is the hard part. This is where we get lost at. This is the part that I have fallen off at before. Excuse me. Okay, I did what you said do. I'm trying to trust you. Whew, would you look at the time? I mean, how much longer? I mean, I've been paying my tithes. I mean, I've been shaking everybody's hand. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I've been. And not one time are we saying, Lord, you, Lord, you, Lord, you. You see what I'm getting at? So now, so like I told you, they entered the city at sunset. They knew the guards were looking for them. Although they had made an agreement, and I'm putting the story together. It's kind of choppy, but go back and read it, and it'll make a little bit more sense to you. But I'm sure most of us are familiar with the story, though. So they knew that the guards were looking for them. And although they had made an agreement with Rahab, they still really didn't know if she would betray them. So they had to hide on the roof all night. Well, check this out. What if they would have got tired of hiding up there? What if they would have got tired of waiting? What if they had decided that they didn't want to stay at the prostitute's house no more? Man, skip this. Let's get out of this streetwalker's house. I don't know her, but you know. I believe God often places us in the most uncommon places. Yes. We are often in places where it's not always desirable. You got me in this prostitute's house on the roof hiding under some plants? Come on, bro, what are you doing? And how long is this supposed to take? Kind of deal. Here's the crazy part. Again, I'm talking about myself. I got the nerve to talk to God like that. I mean, the arrogance. How long, I'm asking the sovereign one, how long are you going to take? Bruh, come on, man. I'm asking God, I'm rushing God. And even though this is for my help, come on, dude, help me quicker. Come on, bruh, I got somewhere to be kind of deal. We talking to the sovereign. And you may not say this, but see, he knows the intent of the heart. You dig what I'm saying? So whether it comes out your mouth or not, he knows it's there. You understand what I'm getting at? Okay. Just so long as y'all understand that. And sometimes the places are isolated. That's the worst part. When you got to step back from family, and you got to step back from friends, or maybe I don't have a job right now, and I'm just all alone. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I'm in that place right now of isolation. I've had to cut some things. I've had to cut some people. And it's just me. And you know what? For real, it ain't always fun being in this place of isolation. However, this is the place that you meet God. You understand what I'm getting at? This is the place where God... Because see, what he's wanting us to do is get us up under the roof, get us up on he wants to get us out of our comfort zone. Alright? Place us in Rahab's house, hide us up on the roof, and man, how uncomfortable. We don't know what the weather was. Was it raining? Was it snowing? Was it hot? Was it cold? It was uncomfortable. They hide on the roof. Under some doggone ferns or something. I don't know what a flax is. But sorry, sister. And so, yeah. So he places us in these crazy places. But here's the deal though, Brother T, Deacon T, come here for a second. Deacon Boots, come here for a second. Young man, come here. Little Tony, Carson, come here. This is what God does. What's that boy's name? David, come on, son. Come on, I call you son. I call out. So, I want y'all to turn and face me. You big one. You come in the middle. Right here. Get close. But while God has us in these isolated places, that covering, that flax that's covering them, that's God's grace. You see what I'm saying? So even though it's uncomfortable and even though I want to get out, this is His grace. And so when we are obedient, and even when our spirit wants to step outside, because He loves us so much, His grace is, come on, walk with me. His grace covers me. And I want to get out, but I'm being obedient. Come on, shift to the left. I'm being obedient, I'm walking, and I'm frustrated, but His grace is covering me. And I want to get out. God, I'm isolated, God, but His grace is covering me. Thanks, guys. That's what that flax represents. That's what that covering on the roof represented. But in order for them to have experience God's grace, guess what? They had to be patient. Listen, even in that place of isolation, we get weary. But what does the word say? It says, don't grow weary in well doing. Well, why does it say that? Because He knows that we're going to get weary. He didn't say you suck if you get weary. He didn't say you're going to hell if you get weary. He didn't say, I hate you because you can't trust me. Right? He didn't say none of that. He didn't say none of that. He said, be obedient. He said, trust me. And He said, be patient. Let me cover you with my grace. What did Paul say when Paul had that thorn? Paul said, I don't want this thing. Get rid of it. God said, nah, fam. My grace is going to carry you through it. No, bro. I know this is uncomfortable, but allow my grace. See, it's in that place of patience. It's in that place of waiting. You understand what I'm saying? It's in that place of isolation that we experience the covering. You understand what I'm getting at? And that's where we want to be. He already knows our very condition. Understand that. You don't have to be ashamed. I think that a lot of times in church, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's told enough that it's okay to admit to the Lord that you don't trust Him. I think that's okay. The reason that I think it's okay is because you're being honest. You're being honest with yourself, first of all, and you're being honest with God. And it's in that place of honesty where the Lord will, but remember, you said, but help my unbelief. See, we have to pray that part. Lord, I'm struggling, trusting you. God, I'm starting to get weary. Let me have a tissue, sister. I'm starting to get weary, God. And so what God does is He takes us back to the Word. And He says, son, I know you're getting weary, but go back to the Word and rehearse that Word. Get it in you. Be patient, son. Be patient. Obedience. What's next? Trust. Right? Patience. Right? In spite of where God places us, He always has us covered. But where He places us, it requires us to be patient. They couldn't just get up and leave because it would have cost them their lives. See, now, His grace is sufficient. But now, and His grace will follow us. But I'm hard-headed. I'd even got around David Carson if I wanted to. I'd have got around God's grace if I wanted to. See what I'm saying? But then it would have cost them their lives. Do you understand? And this is the importance of waiting and being covered under the grace. It can cost you your life. In the most literal sense. But I praise God for His love. I praise God for His grace that even when I step out out of his will, even when I stepped out of his grace, he still loves me anyway. And his grace still follows me. Even though I call myself running away from him. See, the thing is that I've been running from my calling. I've been running. God, I don't want this. God, I don't, no, come on, man. Come on, man. Ain't you got something a little bit easier for, brother? You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. I ain't even gonna go down that road. I ain't gonna go there. But that's real talk. Yeah, that's a whole nother. So, anyway, when we step outside of God's covering, here's the deal. When we step outside of his covering, it makes us an open target for the enemy. You understand? I mean, it's open season. Like, literally. They're waiting. They're waiting. See, because I don't have on my armor. You see what I'm saying? I don't have my word. I don't have the sword. I don't have my shield of faith. See, here's the deal. So let me finish this thought here, and then I'll go back. So in order for God's promises to be fulfilled, we must wait. The spies had no idea how long they'd have to wait, but they never left the covering until it was time. It was an appointed time for them, for God to release them. So when we talk about leaving God's covering, I'm reminded of when God tells us to put on his whole armor. He said, you hold the shield of faith so that what? You can withstand. That means that it's coming. Come here, Carson. Come here. Come at me. It's coming. It's coming. He didn't say it wasn't coming. But come on, push against it. But I can withstand it when I got my shield. Come on, come at me. I can withstand it. And guess what? There's times that he's going to push me back. But I won't be defeated because he told me wherever my foot steps, I'm victorious. So he didn't say it wasn't going to come. He said I can withstand it. But I can't withstand it if I'm running. If my back is turned, I'm dead meat. Agree or disagree? I'm dead meat if my back is turned. My shield don't work. So if Carson, you don't have to come. If Carson is coming, my shield don't work this way. That's stupid. Huh? I put on my armor so that I can withstand. Do you understand what I'm getting at? And we learn that by being patient. Agree? So, then, once we have walked in the obedience of God, and he began to teach us how to trust him, and the more we trust him, the more we don't mind being patient, because we know what's coming next. What's coming next? What y'all write? That's it. Promises, provision, same thing. See, I'm learning to trust him. And so I don't mind waiting. And so it blessed my heart when my sister, this past Sunday, gave her testimony. You hear me? Because I'm waiting. Man, that blessed me. Sister Chanel, that blessed me. That blessed me. Because I'm waiting on some things. You understand? And so the sister trusted the Lord. And she had to wait. Yes. And so what that did is she edified me. Yes. And so I just sat down. Okay, God. Whew. She said earlier, hope deferred. But see, she gave me a bit of good news. You see what I'm saying? She gave me suddenly good news. See, that's what that did for me. So now I can just, because my behind was getting tired of sitting, I'm getting antsy. Come on, Lord. Lord, I'm trusting you. God, I need your grace again to wait today. Every day for me. I need your grace every day to teach me to wait. Listen, let me tell you something. The stuff I'm telling y'all, it ain't because I'm just reading it here. This is real life for me. See, I'm that one. I'm that guy that ran. I'm that guy that would not. There was a time, really. There was a time that I told the Lord, straight out, flat out, dude, I don't trust you at all. I don't trust you. David said, though he slay me, yet. I said, dude, you keep slaying me. How am I supposed to trust you? Man, I'm just being real. Though you slay me. But now, since I've been sitting waiting patiently, I understand. I understand why it was important. I understand why David said, it was good that I was afflicted. I understand that. I understand. And again, I go back to, before I was afflicted, I went astray. But it was in that area of affliction that I had to drop to my knees. And at some point in time, I had to decide to be obedient. It's a decision. Because, so Pastor says, she taught us that he has a perfect will and a permissive will. Listen, he let me walk into a brick wall, and I mean that in the most literal sense. That was my permissive will. I started way back there. This wall was his perfect will. Listen, got this big old hickey upside my head. Because his perfect will gonna stop you in your tracks. Because he, doofus, you don't know how to act right. I'm talking, I ain't calling nobody here doofus. I'm talking about me, okay? This is about me. And so actually I wasn't walking in his permissive will. I was running. And I told you this wall is his perfect will. I'm running. I'm doing what Terrence thinks Terrence is supposed to do. I'm doing what Terrence wants to do. I'm running from my purpose. I'm running from his word. I'm running. I don't want no parts of this. I'm angry. I got stuff going on. And I'm full on sprint. And when I tell you, I run into a wall as hard as that concrete, I ain't joking with you. But that was his perfect will. So then I was afflicted. Well, guess what? Now I obey you. Okay, God, now I'm ready. Now I'm listening. Now I'm listening. What'd you say? What was that you had told me to do way back there? That's what David said. He said, as soon as you afflicted me, I start listening. Didn't he say that? He said, it was good that I was afflicted, God. Thank you. Thank you. He said, thank you. Thank you for that brick wall. See what I'm saying? Because I don't know where I was going. I don't know what was on the other side of that. I was just going. Listen, here's the crazy part. When we run and not be patient, we call ourselves running from God. What I do? Come on. How dumb can you be? No, I'm talking about me. Listen, I'm talking about me, and I'm serious. I'm talking about me. Dude, how dumb can you be? I'm like this. No, bam! Bro, you ain't all that smart, are you? Come on, son. Come on. And that's what he did. Come on. So I told you that my son, okay, so just so y'all know I wasn't lying to you. All these sentences. I will respect my teacher always. Okay? 500 times. He's hard. Well, he was supposed to get a whooping. But I didn't feel like whooping him this particular time. I didn't feel like whooping him, so I wanted to show him some grace. So the grace was sit down and write these sentences till you get arthritis in your 2 fingers. Well, that didn't do it. He did 500 sentences, and he still, well, he didn't disrespect his teacher, but he got in some more trouble. Okay, I don't play with homework. When it come down to school, that'll get your hat brought. When it come down to lining, that'll get your hat brought. All right? So he violated both. So guess what? This past weekend, I had to get him for old and new. All right? I got him for old and new. For real. But here's the deal. After I ran into that wall, after I got my son for old and new, I set him down. Come here. Come get on daddy's lap. Why did daddy have to get you? What? Talk to me. So you understand, this is how Father God treats us. Come on. I know it hurt, but come on, buddy. I love you. And because I had told him when he wrote the sentence, I said, hey, bro, listen, don't put Daddy in a position where I got to get a hold of you. I said, I don't want to do it. Don't put me in that position, bro. But then I had to get a hold of him. But then after I had to get a hold of him, come here, son. Come here. I didn't hit him upside his head. But that's how Daddy God did my head. Man. So anyway, all right. So, the provision. All right. This is the good part. Because while that hickey's going down on your head, you already went through the process. The provision is already there. It is waiting for an appointed time. But I couldn't skip over the process of being obedient and trusting Him and waiting. I just couldn't. And so then he told my sister, he said, sister, now it's time for me to bless you. Huh? He said, now it's time for me to release the provisions to you. Because you did what I asked you to do. See, He's a rewarder of those that diligently seek Him. God is eager to bless us. Pastor said there are 7,400 and something promises in the Bible. He's eager to release each and every one of them to us that are applicable. You understand what I'm saying? He wants to. So now they're ready to cross the Jordan because they trusted God, they were obedient, and they had patience. God, true to His word, had gone before them and provided a way for them to cross the Jordan. In other words, God gave the provisions needed for a seemingly impossible situation. The sister, I'm picking on Sister Tennille because her testimony was so powerful. She said she was in a situation where she didn't see a way out. She couldn't hardly see nothing. You see what I'm saying? That's what the sister testified about. It said the situation that appears dead, situation that seemed impossible, a situation that seemed unbearable and painful. He may require us to do something that makes absolutely no sense at all. But at this point, because now it's provision time. But at this point, so if He asks us to do something that seems impossible or doesn't make any sense, it's because He trusts us because we've gone through the process. See, so watch this. This is what He did. He said, so God told Joshua to tell the priests that were carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which represented God, we know that, right? To stand at the water's edge. What? Then what? See, they didn't question because they'd already been through the process and they've learned to trust Him at this point. See, when it's time for the provision, ain't no lip service. Huh? You just do. Because you've proven yourself. And this is why He's ready to release the promises. Does that make sense? God is eager to show us His wonders when we do our part, when we obey, trust, and are patient. I believe that God is kind of a show-off. You see what I'm saying? Hey, watch this for the one time. Red Sea part. You see what I'm saying? Let me just, and then He can just strut His stuff. You see what I'm saying? He can do that. He can do that. Because He's God all by Himself. So, yeah, God in a good way. You understand what I'm saying? God's a show-off. Watch what I can do. Let me show you how to make a way out of no way. Let me show you how to make a crooked path straight. See, He can do that. He can beat His chest. I can't. I do, but I suck. But I do. But He don't. He's God. He can do that. You see what I'm saying? So He's anxious to reward us when we obey Him and trust Him and wait on Him. Okay? So now it was time for the children of Israel to cross over the Jordan. Because they had followed Joshua's instructions, God caused the river to open up. The waters stood still. Show off. Show off. But He can do that. You see what I'm saying? What was He doing? He was showing you, listen, this is how I roll when you do what I say do. The sister said, I didn't see a way. And he said, don't worry about that. You do what I told you, and I got you. Man, that testimony blessed me, because I'm waiting. Listen, if you ain't excited when somebody else testifies, I'm going to tell you. That blessed me, man. I ain't going to lie. And so the children of Israel were finally able to cross over to the promised land. Now, remember back in chapter 1, God told Joshua to be careful, to obey all the laws. Don't turn to the right or to the left, because wherever you go, you'll be successful. Well, we all know the story about the fall of Jericho, right? So God gave Joshua specific instructions. When you go in here, some of these things belong to me. See, this was their first battle. So they were supposed to dedicate some of the stuff as first fruits. See, he's a jealous guy too. Come on now, he's a jealous guy. Okay? So now, so Joshua wanted to honor God. The first victory, the first city they had captured, and Joshua knew that certain things in the city should have been devoted to God. So here's what happened. So let's go up to Joshua, and then we're gonna wrap this up. How much I got? I hope this boy didn't tear up none of my pages. Okay, we should be cool. All right, so up to Joshua 7, the first chapter. It says, but the Israelites were unfaithful in regards to the devoted things. Don't touch some of this stuff. Achan took some of them, so the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Okay, so Joshua sent some more spies. I'm going to rush through this. So Joshua sent some more spies to scope out the city of Ai. They came back and reported that the whole army didn't need to go out and fight. The battle should have been easy for them. But guess what? It wasn't. However, there was sin in the camp. Joshua had given specific instructions. Don't touch some of this stuff. But because of the disobedience of one man, he brought destruction to everybody. Right? The Israelites, the children of Israel lost their next battle as a result of there being sin in the camp. They weren't obedient. You see what I'm saying? God lifted his grace. Did we talk about that? Okay, so Achan's sin caused the bloodshed of his entire family. Remember I said not being obedient can literally cost you your life. All right? When we don't commit to follow God's instruction with our whole heart, it doesn't just affect us. We see families we see families torn apart. We see our finances suffer. We are unstable with jobs, failed relationships, wayward children, constant turmoil. We don't have peace. Imagine how Achan's spirit was all that night. The evil spirits tormenting him. It's because he knew. He knew. He made himself a target. You see what I'm getting at? Okay, so up in Joshua 7:19 through 21, it says, Then Joshua said to Achan, My son, give glory to God, the God of Israel, and honor him. Tell me what you've done, and don't hide it from me. Achan admitted to what he did. Okay, so Joshua, he had been successful in all. So Achan was dealt with. All right, so Joshua had been very successful during his reign. He made up his mind early to obey the law, the law that Moses had given him. Okay, so it was through his obedience that he learned to trust God. It's in that place of trusting God that God teaches us how to wait on him. The word teaches us that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, right? Just like us, Joshua faced many battles. I'm sure there were many times in his battles that he may have felt weary. I think it's foolish to think that Joshua went in all them battles and didn't get frustrated. Joshua had a lot of fights, by the way. A whole lot of fights. And he won them. See? Except that one time, because they was hard. So then it says, it seems like we face different battles in life, and we don't always feel victorious. Many times we are in battles and take some really good licking. Remember I told you I ran up against that wall? But we are bruised, battered, heartbroken, discouraged, unsure. But God told Joshua that if he would only obey him, that in every place he was going to be victorious. He never told Joshua that things would be perfect, though. You see what I'm saying? He never said that. He just said you're going to be victorious. In fact, and that's what I was talking about earlier. In fact, God tells us to put on our whole armor, right? Remember we talked about that. So no matter what so no matter how devastating it is, as long as we're obedient and walk in His word and are patient, we're going to be able to withstand it. But the foundation of a victorious life all begins with the strong determination that I'm going to obey God. That's where it all starts at. And inside, I didn't say it all started with I'm going to trust Him. It all started, the foundation is I'm going to be obedient. No matter what it looks like, okay? Excuse me. We're going to wait on God so that in due season we can reap the provisions of God. So towards the end of Joshua's life, he called all the tribes together and he had a heart-to-heart with them. He reminded them how they were able to live fruitfully from the provisions of God. He reminded them about their exodus from Egypt. He reminded them about the Red Sea experience and the Jordan experience. All the many battles that they faced that God had delivered them from. He gave them a stern warning to not worship the idols of their ancestors. There's instructions again that need to be obedient, that they need to obey. These idols represent things that we place above God. Situations, finances, children, guilty, jobs, anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ. He said, don't do that. Don't do that. That's what he said. Joshua warned them to stay faithful and obey. But he also told them that if you can't do that, that's on you. Joshua had led them through some tough times. Tough times in our vernacular would be sickness, disease, divorce, job loss, kids going astray, disappointments, church hurt, you name it. We experienced all that. But here's the deal about Joshua. There was nothing that caused Joshua to not obey and not trust and not wait. Man, that's powerful. Because, listen, some of us, the wind shake too hard. Oh, God, you don't love me. Oh, God, you hate me. Oh, God, I just don't trust you. Dude, what happened to all the battles we just... I mean, real talk. You feel what I'm saying? And this guy said, come on, bruh. This is what Joshua was saying. Dude, we done seen a lot. We have seen a lot. And here is what I'm going to end with. Because of all the stuff, because of God's track record, Joshua reminded them. He said, now listen, y'all. We done been through a lot. Y'all have to remember. Now, if you can't do this, that's on you. But as for me and my house, as for me and my house, I'm going to serve God. Because see, I remember all the battles that I won. I remember that he told me that every place my foot stepped, that I would be victorious. So then therefore, if you don't want to serve him, that's on you. But as for me and my house, see what I'm saying? We going to serve God. As for me and my house, it don't matter what my finances look like. It don't matter what sickness comes to. It don't matter what situations come about. I'm going to choose to obey him. I'm going to choose to trust him, and I'm going to choose to be patient because I want to see the provisions, the promises of God in my life. You understand what I'm saying? So as for me and my house, we've learned to wait on God. As for me and my house, we've learned to obey God. As for me and my house, we've learned to trust him. See? And so that's where God is trying to get us to in our faith walk. We got to make up in mind. Joshua made up in his mind early that I'm going to serve God. I'm going to be. He got his marching orders from day one, and he never looked back. Did that mean that Joshua didn't get weary? Did that mean that he didn't get frustrated? Did that mean that there weren't times that he went in his closet and cried his heart out and said, God, why me? God, why? See, I think it's taboo to think that we can't question God. Go back and read Habakkuk. Habakkuk asked God some real tough questions. He was real with God. He was real with God. Go back and read Habakkuk. If you don't believe it, read Habakkuk. And you'll see that it's okay to go in your closet and question God. Why, God? But then Habakkuk said, then I sat there and waited on his answer. Huh? That's what Habakkuk did. It's okay to admit to God that, Lord, I'm struggling in my faith walk right now. Lord, I'm having trouble trusting you right now. It's okay to admit that. That's what he wants us to do. But that doesn't negate us obeying him and trusting him and then waiting on him. Amen?
Amen.
Praise God.